This story is not just about the crime, but about the lives it touched and the memories it left behind. Among the names that echo in this tale, 4 stand out: Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogen, Zana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. These names represent lives cut short, dreams unfulfilled, and a community in mourning. The autopsy reports showed that all 4 suffered multiple stab wounds from a large knife, tragically ending their lives in the early morning. The sheer brutality of the attack, the severity of the wounds, and the lingering questions have deeply affected the community. The suspect in this heinous act is Kohberger, accused of fatally stabbing these 4 University of Idaho students in the early hours of November 13, 2022. Notably, the murder weapon, a knife, has yet to be discovered. Bryan Kohberger, facing these charges, didn't enter his own plea. The judge did so on his behalf. Given the horrific nature of the crime, the state of Idaho is pursuing the death penalty. Central to the prosecution's case is DNA evidence found on a knife sheath left at the crime scene. However, additional evidence raises questions about others' involvement. Key inquiries include why Kohberger's car was seen leaving the scene, and why his cell phone was detected there multiple times, including the morning after the crime. The prosecution would like everyone to believe that it's an open and shut case. According to the defense, there's no link between Kohberger and the victims, suggesting a lack of motive and challenging the accusation that he's the perpetrator, as Kohberger is a graduate student and not a trained assassin. For the victims' families, the journey has been excruciating. In August 2023, just weeks before Kohberger's murder trial, he waived his right to a speedy trial, prolonging the family's wait for justice. The journey has been incredibly difficult for the families of Kaylee Gonzalez, Maddie Mogen, Zana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. These 4 University of Idaho students tragically lost their lives in an appalling act of violence. In the early hours of November 13, 2022, as they were resting in their off-campus residence on King Road, they were brutally attacked by someone armed with a knife. This heinous crime has left an indelible mark on their loved ones and the community. Jasmine Kernodle, a senior at Washington State University and Zana's older sister, and lived only 15 minutes away from her younger sister, reminisces about their close bond, often mistaken for twins. Zana, remembered for her positivity and caring nature, had found love with Ethan Chapin. Ethan, one of triplets, was known for his love of boats and working on a tulip farm. Jasmine fondly remembers Ethan as the sweetest kid ever. She reflects on the couple's happiness, evident in their photos and videos, showing them as an amazing pair. Tragically, their lives are now intertwined in death. That fateful Sunday morning, November 13th, Jasmine received calls about a terrible incident on King Road. Frantically, she drove to Zana's house, repeatedly trying to contact her sister and Ethan without success. Her next call was to her father, Jeffrey, urging him to return to Moscow and meet her at Zana's place. Arriving at a scene swarmed with investigators, Jasmine and Jeffrey, identified as Zana's family, were taken to the police department. There, they received the heartbreaking news of Zana's passing among the 4 victims. Meanwhile, the Gonzalez family, 100 miles away, also heard alarming news about their daughter, Kaylee. In the afternoon, a deputy confirmed the unimaginable. Kaylee had passed away, along with Maddie Mogen, her childhood best friend. Maddie Mogen and Kaylee Gonzalez shared an extraordinary bond from childhood, embodying the essence of true friendship. They had a wonderful relationship, so close that they were like sisters in every sense, inseparable and deeply connected. Upon hearing the news, Olivia Gonzalez, the eldest sibling, and her parents began their own investigation. Olivia examined Kaylee's call logs and learned from a friend that Kaylee and Maddie were at the Corner Club bar until the early hours. She discovered from a rideshare driver that Kaylee requested a ride from a local food truck to their home on King Road, accompanied by another female, later identified as Maddie. Olivia then found crucial evidence, footage from a camera on the grub truck showing Kaylee and Maddie together. The rideshare driver confirmed dropping them off at home at 1:56 a.m., a timeline Olivia established before the police did. She provided this information to the police. Kaylee's last call was to her boyfriend at 2:56 a.m., believing Kaylee fell asleep soon after. The police affidavit states that Kaylee and Maddie were fatally stabbed between 4 and 4:25 a.m., found together as they had often been since childhood. The assailant, who also took 2 more lives that night, left behind 2 surviving roommates. One roommate provided a crucial description of the intruder: a man in black with a muscular build and very bushy eyebrows. According to the investigation detailed in the affidavit, the bodies of Zana and Ethan, who was staying over, were discovered in or near her bedroom on the 2nd floor. Kaylee and Maddie were found on the 3rd floor, sharing the same bed in Maddie's room. The setup of the bed, against the wall with the headboard touching it, suggests Maddie was on the outside and Kaylee on the inside. Evidence indicates Maddie was the first victim, and Kaylee, awakened by the attack, attempted to escape but was trapped due to the bed's position. The affidavit reveals that Kohberger's cell phone was detected near the house 12 times before the murders, suggesting he was observing the house, potentially to understand the residents' patterns and behaviors. The attack likely began on the 3rd floor, targeting Maddie and Kaylee. It seems the killer didn't anticipate finding them together, leading to a change in his plan and resulting in 4 victims instead of 1. Zana and Ethan appear to be collateral damage. Around 4:00 a.m., after receiving a DoorDash delivery, Zana encountered the assailant unexpectedly. Dylan Mortensen, one of the surviving roommates, reported hearing crying from Zana's room. A security camera nearby captured audio of voices or a whimper, followed by a loud thud around 4:17 a.m. Dylan saw a man in black with a mask and distinctive bushy eyebrows, who walked away without harming her. The question of why Dylan was spared remains unanswered. The police speculate that the assailant was focused on escaping. They believe the murder weapon, a military-style K-bar knife, which hasn't been found, was used in the attack. This is not a civilian knife. It was actually meant to tear apart bone, ligaments, organs. Following her encounter with the intruder, Dylan, one of the surviving roommates, reported to investigators that she immediately locked herself in her room for safety. There was a significant delay of nearly 8 hours before a 911 call was made, which led to considerable discussion and criticism on social media regarding Dylan's actions during this critical period. According to the details in the affidavit, the male suspect moved towards the back sliding glass door and is believed to have exited the scene through it. However, escaping responsibility for a crime as serious as murder is an entirely different challenge. For a perpetrator to successfully evade capture, their actions must be flawlessly executed. Even a single mistake can be crucial in leading to their apprehension. In this case, such a critical error might have been the leaving of the sheath of a K-bar knife, which was discovered on the bed next to Maddie Mogen. This significant piece of evidence ultimately guided investigators to Bryan Kohberger, a student pursuing a career in criminology, who is now the primary suspect in these tragic murders. For 47 long days after the tragic murders of Kaylee, Maddie, Zana, and Ethan, their families, along with the entire country, waited anxiously for an arrest. The police received an overwhelming response, with over 19,000 tips. Everywhere, there was a shared feeling of grief and a palpable longing for answers and justice. Then, on December 30, 2022, the breakthrough came. Bryan Kohberger was arrested in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. His attorney expressed confidence in Kohberger's exoneration. At this point, the families knew as much about Kohberger as the public did. Kohberger, a PhD criminology student at Washington State University, located just 10 miles from the scene. During those 7 weeks of uncertainty, Moscow police diligently worked on the case. They began with a video canvas, uncovering footage from the early hours of the morning. It showed a white car making 3 passes near the victim's house, starting around 3:30 a.m. and leaving about 25 minutes after it made its final approach at 4:06 a.m. Surveillance cameras captured this white car taking a roundabout route back to Pullman, Washington, arriving around 5:30 a.m. This footage was crucial in identifying the car model, a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra. Washington State Police eventually found this car parked outside graduate housing. They recorded its license plate, leading them to Bryan Kohberger. His driver's license, showing his distinctive bushy eyebrows, matched the description given by one of the surviving roommates. With a warrant in hand, investigators accessed cell tower data, which showed Kohberger's phone near Pullman at 2:47 a.m. It then went off the grid, coinciding with the time a white Elantra was seen leaving his apartment complex. The phone reconnected 2 hours later, south of Moscow, as it returned to his apartment. This pattern suggested an attempt to avoid detection. Kohberger's phone history indicated his familiarity with the neighborhood around the crime scene, having been near it on 12 separate occasions. Furthermore, cell towers recorded a 13th trip just hours after the murders. In building their case, investigators had a crucial piece of evidence: the knife sheath, which bore a microscopic spot of DNA. The challenge was to connect this DNA to Kohberger. The DNA found on the sheath's button snap didn't match any in the national database. It's uncertain if Kohberger knew he was under surveillance when he left Washington in mid-December. He and his father, who had come from Pennsylvania, embarked on a 2,500-mile drive home in the white Elantra. Kohberger confided to his father about troubles at work, leading his father to join the drive. During this journey, they were stopped twice for traffic violations. Once in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, investigators discreetly monitored Kohberger's family home. They collected his father's DNA from discarded trash, finding a high probability match to the DNA on the knife sheath. This breakthrough led to the decision to arrest Kohberger and obtain a warrant for his DNA. When compared, his DNA matched the DNA on the sheath. The defense, however, presented Kohberger's alibi. He was out driving alone on the night of the murders. They argued that no DNA or forensic evidence linked him to the crime scene, his apartment, car, office, or person, questioning how he could commit such a crime without leaving any trace. The defense also highlighted the presence of other unidentified male DNA at the scene, with 3 distinct profiles found. They sought to explore who these individuals were and their potential involvement in the crime. The defense team began exploring alternative narratives, including theories involving drugs, suggesting the murders could be retribution for unpaid drug debts. Kohberger's attorneys emphasized the lack of evidence tying their client to the victims, asserting there was no connection or motive between Kohberger and the students. Following the public naming of Bryan Kohberger as a suspect, the Gonzalez family immediately started researching online. They thought they found a connection through Instagram, taking screenshots of what appeared to be Kohberger's account. This account was following Maddie Mogan and Kaylee Gonzalez, among others with the Kohberger surname, hinting at a digital connection with the victims. Kaylee's mother noticed Bryan's name frequently under Maddie's Instagram photos, indicating he was actively viewing their accounts. This discovery was a significant piece of digital evidence for the family. Months of searching for answers have left the Gonzalez family mentally braced for the trial, whenever it may start. The victims' families struggle with the incomprehensibility of the tragedy, constantly haunted by the question of why it happened to such promising young individuals. The impact of Kaylee, Maddie, Zana, and Ethan's lives remains strong, leaving their families to ponder what might have been. Kaylee Jade Gonzalez was posthumously awarded a bachelor's degree from the University of Idaho, a bittersweet milestone for her family. Jasmine Kernodle had plans to start a marketing business with her sister Zana. Kaylee Gonzalez was set to begin a career in Austin at an IT firm, a future tragically unfulfilled. Amidst the loss, The Gonzalez family found a glimmer of hope when Olivia gave birth to Theodora Maddie Kay, named in memory of Maddie and Kaylee. Each family finds their own way to cope. Ethan's parents, Stacy and Jim Chapin, are creating a foundation in his honor, raising scholarship funds through selling tulips, a nod to Ethan's work at a tulip farm. The trial for Bryan Kohberger is anticipated for the summer of 2024. This case continues to draw attention, with many following the story closely. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories like this.